Two unsung heroes in our community. This is Rick Irving. I want to tell you about two friends of mine, Kerre Ortegel and Larry O'Neill. Both of them have a passion for making sure that Christmas is a happy occurrence for many children. Now, Kerre is the founder of Holidays and Heroes, and Larry is the founder of Larry's Kids. Both organizations work to make sure that kids have Christmas. And both of them start out with just a thought, an idea, turn that thought and idea into action. Larry started his bike giveaway over 38 years ago. And Kerre, her Holidays and Heroes, this is the 10th year that she's done her work through that organization, because Christmas is special and Christmas is for kids. And here's a picture of my friend Kerre, and here's a picture of my friend Larry. And they have met one time, because whenever Mary Staffeld and I were doing our holidays, our Hometown Heroes podcast, we were doing it at Larry O'Neill's Fort Worth Memories Museum. And Kerre was one of our guests. So we did bring them together to meet one time, although their organizations work in different areas and do different things. But, there's Santa Claus and there's a little girl. And you just think about all the fond memories you have of Christmas. Now, this is Kerre and her husband, Bob, and the organization Holidays and Heroes. They help the lower-ranked enlisted families at JRB in Fort Worth. And they don't only provide Christmas, but together with some other organizations, with the Air Power Foundation, with the Fort Worth Air Power Council, and with the Tarrant Area Food Bank, at Thanksgiving, they give about 100 pounds of food to about 200 to 300 military families out at NASJRB. But then at Christmas time, they have what they do all along the year. They're always planning and working on Christmas. So they send out applications out to the different organizations at NASJRB, and these military families send an application. The applications are screened, and to make sure that their income's within the certain guidelines. And then the ones that are selected are given a wish list. They fill out for their families and for their children, and they send it back in. And Kerre, through her network that started out just in her neighborhood, her network of sponsors and donors, they adopt a family. And then they take that wish list, they go out and purchase the gifts from the wish list. And on the Saturday night before the big party at the base, Kerre and Bob host the Gathering of the Gifts party, where people that are donating the gifts bring it to Kerre and Bob's house. They have a whole team of people to receive the gifts, put them on moving trucks or big rider trucks, and then take them out the next day to the base. And that's a nice evening when the people that the sponsors and donors can get together. They can meet each other and learn more about Holidays and Heroes. Then the next day at NASJRB, a whole host of volunteers. This is this year's volunteers that were there at that time. I'm sure there were people unloading the truck. There were people directing traffic. There were people scurrying around doing a lot of last minute things. But this is just some of the volunteers that help, because Larry and Kerre will both tell you, without the help of the volunteers, their organizations couldn't exist. They couldn't function. I mean, you might be able to yourself give away 10 bicycles or 15 bicycles, or Larry, has given away almost 20,000 bicycles in the last 38 years. But without the help of the volunteers, they couldn't do what they do. And this is in the hangar, VR 59 out at JRB. And you can just see there's just a whole sea of presents out there. Whenever we think sometimes about getting presents, we think just a lot of little toys or trinkets or something. These are nice gifts. Every family has 10, 15 gifts to unwrap, and they're quality gifts. This year we helped over 160 families with Christmas. Santa Claus is there. The families can come and have their picture made with Santa Claus. You can see this fella taking gifts to his home. After that Sunday, which was the 8th of December, another donor had given Kerre $3,000 and said, go buy some more gifts and give them to whoever needs them. So Ann Pottinger and some of the other board members from Holidays and Heroes, myself, went to Walmart on a little shopping trip. And we had a lot of gifts to take, and we took them back to the base, to the Fleet and Family Services. They have a little room in there where families can come in that are in need and pick out some items. But you can see there's a lot of baskets. We had a truckload of gifts to take there. And while we were at the Fleet and Family Services, they do have a food pantry, and Kerre was asking the director if they were okay on food. And she said, we're okay on all the non-perishable foods, but the perishable foods like meat, bacon, sausage, items like that, we're kind of running low. Kerre said, I'll go to Sam's and get some non-perishables. And so this is how the refrigerator looked before Kerre made her shopping trip to Sam's. And when she came back, the cupboard that was bare was no longer bare. So that's just some of the things that Holidays and Heroes has done this year, and this is their 10th year. But all along the year, if there's a need out there, Kerre is so in tune with the needs of other people. And I told her today happens to be my mother's 96th birthday. She died in 1996, but she would have been 96 today. And I went to Sam's with Kerre, and I said, Kerre, you remind me so much of my mother, because my mother was a person that she was very resourceful, but if she knew that people had a need, especially people with kids, she was a champion for children, but especially people with children. If they were down on their luck, or the husband lost a job or something, it was not uncommon at all for my mama to load my brother Ken and I up in the car, and or Ken and me up in the car, and we go to the grocery store and buy several sacks of groceries. Now, back in the 50s, a sack of groceries was pretty big and pretty heavy. It wasn't a little deal you could carry with one hand. But she'd buy several sacks of groceries with staples and things that the family might need. We'd go to their house and be very quiet and set it on the porch. And I know so many times people didn't know where those groceries might have come from. But Kerre just has that sense about zeroing in on what people need. So she's a great person and has a great organization with a lot of special volunteers, a lot of special donors and sponsors and supporters. So Kerre, thank you and bless you for blessing so many people. And that's Holidays for Heroes. Now, my friend Larry O'Neill, he's a Fort Worth historian, and he has a Facebook group. You can go to Facebook, go to Fort Worth Memories. It's a closed group, and he's got about 134,000 members. He does live, Facebook Live, several times a day. He's got his fingers on the pulse of Fort Worth and the surrounding areas. If there's a need, Larry knows about it. If there's a problem, Larry knows about it. Larry knows where to get the problems fixed. If it's with the city, he just calls the mayor. Or if he mentions it on his Facebook Live, the mayor's office usually calls him and says, Larry, how can we help you? But Larry is just a great guy. He's like me. He's a Fort Worth native, grew up here. And he started this bike drive 38 years ago by just knowing the needs of children and how it would be to have a new bicycle. And so every year he starts early in the year and starts gathering bicycles, individuals, corporations, companies, other organizations, fire department, police department, some of the local unions. They collect bicycles. A lot of the restaurants collect bicycles and bring them to Larry's warehouse. And then this last Saturday, just a few days ago, at Farrington Field over University in Lancaster, I got there about 5:30. People were already there. They'd worked during the night to bring in over 1,100, maybe 1,200 bicycles. They had helmets. They had toys for the children. And he'd said that people had already started lining up at 11:30 the night before, because there's no application. You just get in line, one bicycle per vehicle. And at 6:30, we opened the line, and by 9:30, we didn't have any bicycles left. So just a great morning. This is Larry's logo, Larry's Kids, the annual bike drive. This is some of the volunteers. This is the volunteers who were out there whenever we started at 6:30. There had been many other volunteers working hundreds of hours over the past 8 or 9 months, and just gathering bicycles, moving things around, coordinating, helping Larry do all the things. Some of the bicycles I think they even put together. Then as the morning goes on, there's more volunteers coming to help. So just like with Holidays and Heroes, Larry's Kids bike drive just can't work without the volunteers and the sponsors and the donors. Here's just some of the bicycles that were out there. Here's bicycles being loaded in a vehicle. And this is Brooke Rollins. For you that don't know Brooke Rollins, she's a local lady. She grew up in Glen Rose, and she has been nominated to be the Secretary of Agriculture. And here she is, not even, the sun hadn't even come up, but she's out there helping to make sure kids have a great Christmas. Here's some more bicycles being loaded up. You can see there's a line of cars there, and we have people all up and down those stations working. We have a few of the politicians that showed up. And this is Larry in the black shirt and black hat, our mayor, Maddie Parker, one of our former mayors, 2 mayors before Maddie Parker, Mike Moncrief, and then the former mayor before Maddie, Betsy Price, and then the District 3 councilman, Michael Crane. So, they were out there, and they weren't out there just for photo op. Sometimes you see these politicians come in for a minute and take a bike, put it in the car so they can get their picture made to say, hey, look what I'm doing. But these four folks were out there for a long time that morning. They worked hard to make sure everything was running smoothly and the bikes were being loaded. And they're all great supporters of Larry's bike, or Larry's Kids. And there's Larry's Kids annual bike drive. It's just some great organizations that do a lot of stuff for our kids. And let me give you the Holidays and Heroes is holidaysandheroes.org. Larry'sKids.com. It's Larry'sKids.com. There's not any apostrophe in there, but Holidays and Heroes and Larry'sKids.com. And let's see if I can put this on here so you'll have there's Holidays and Heroes right there. Holidaysandheroes.org. And let me create another one here. And it's Larry'sKids.com. But go to both of these websites and find out more about each organization. And, this is going to be on Facebook. Just put a comment down below the video and just give a shout out for Kerre and give a shout out for Larry. Visit their Facebook pages. If you aren't a member of the Fort Worth Memories Facebook group, go join. And of course, go to the Facebook group that Mary Staffeld and I have, Hometown Heroes. And we're going to take a couple of weeks off for Christmas and New Year's, but we have our weekly podcast, Hometown Heroes, and you can see Hometown Heroes on YouTube. We've got most of our podcasts there. And, talking about the podcast, Larry O'Neill, he and I had been talking for years about interviewing some of our veterans. And I thought, this is good. So we started Facebook Live. I had Mary come, and she's the president of Roll Call. And I thought, she would be a good fit because she knows so many veterans, and she's a veteran herself. We went and talked to Larry, and a couple of years, 2.5 years ago, over 120 episodes ago, we sat down with Larry and started Hometown Heroes podcast. Larry was so gracious to let us use the Fort Worth Memories Museum. We set up our podcast every week for a year, and then we went to the online podcast. But Larry, you're just a remarkable guy. You do so much for our community, and you do so much for our children. And Kerre, you're a remarkable lady, and I just thank both of you for all you do to honor our children, honor our military and our first responders and our veterans, because both of you do that just, as part of the things you do. But those are my two friends. That's Larry O'Neill and Kerre Ortegel. So go to our, if you're watching this, just give a shout out for both of them. And just think about making donations to these two organizations. I know both Larry and Kerre very well. I know their organizations. I'm a advisor to Kerre's organization, and I know that your donations are going to go exactly where they say they go, and they're going to be helping a lot of children have a bright Christmas. So thank you all, and Merry Christmas. God bless you, Kerre. God bless you, Larry.